It is a Tuesday at 6 p.m. This is Championship Rings in collaboration with the one, the only Voltage Live. I am Brandon Lewis, the host of Brandon's World. But if you can tell today, folks, that is not Mr. Unger to the Max in the Sports Room Talk Show on the right side of my debate stage here. He is from Voltage Live. He is the host of the Fitz on Sports podcast. He is filling in for an ill Josh Unger tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Sean Fitzgerald.
Award-winning journalist Sean Fitzgerald at that. How you doing, folks?
Sean, thank you for filling in. I called you in a little bit late notice. Thanks for being here today. Josh, we hope that you are feeling better next week so we can get to all the things going on in sports. Of course, as always, you can follow us here on Championship Rings, on X at Rings Champion, Facebook Rings Champion 216, Instagram at Rings Champion. But we got to get right to it because the NBA Finals are here. A finals that I do not think anybody in the universe predicted before the start of this NBA playoffs. Maybe you predicted one team or another, but I don't think you predicted the
Not Indiana, that's for sure. I didn't predict Indiana when we started this.
So it's going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder, led by the NBA regular season MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, against the Indiana Pacers, led by Tyrese Haliburton, who, fun fact, also has a current shirt on WWEshop.com.
Hey, don't undersell Miles Turner, the pending unrestricted free agent.
Correct. So listen, I'll be honest. I'll go first here. I, on this show, have doubted the Indiana Pacers, as you saw in our opening video here for the last.
Oh, yes.
I did not think the Indiana Pacers were very good. I still don't think they're very good. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't think the Pacers are a great team. I think if you look hard at the last two Indiana Pacers postseason, so 2 years ago, they faced Milwaukee in the first round. They faced them without Giannis Antetokounmpo. Damian Lillard takes them to 6 games in that series. The second round, as I mentioned in our intro video with Josh, in my opinion, the Knicks take them all the way to 7 games. Jalen Brunson breaks his hand in the second half of that game. They're without Mitchell Robinson. They're without Julius Randle the whole playoff run. They're without Burks, and they go out. And then obviously they get the injury bug in the Eastern Conference Finals because Haliburton goes out against the Celtics. This year, they face a Milwaukee team who, had Damian Lillard for maybe a half coming off the blood clot, and then obviously with the Achilles tear. In game 2, they face a Cleveland team without Darius Garland, without Evan Mobley, without DeAndre Hunter that turned the tide of that series. And then here's the thing about this Knicks series. The Indiana Pacers, counting the comeback they had in game 5 against Milwaukee, the comeback they had in Cleveland in game 1, and the comeback they had against the Knicks in game 1.
They had comebacks every game, it felt like, against Cleveland, that whole series.
They won 3 games this postseason, trailing by 8 points with under a minute or a minute left to play, which I think teams were like 1 in 2,000 or something like that in those scenarios. And especially in the Knicks and the Cleveland situation, even in the Milwaukee situation, they needed multiple free throws from guys who can make free throws like OG Anunoby, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, to clank off the back iron for them to get an offensive or defensive rebound and be perfect execution down the stretch. With all that being said, you got to give credit to them. They're here. But the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I'll get into this in a minute after I let you give your prediction for the series, they've been the best team in the NBA this year from top to bottom. They're going to win this NBA championship. They're going to do so in 5 games. The way I see this going down, they're going to go up 3-0. They're going to punt game 4. Indiana's going to blow them out. They could blow them out by 50 that game. Similarly to what Minnesota did to them in game 3. I don't think they care. I think they're going to want to win it in front of their hometown crowd on the Monday night, game 5. That's the way I see this. Monday, June 16th, we will crown the 2025 NBA champion. The NBA Finals MVP will also be the NBA regular season MVP, and it will cap off one of the most historic seasons we will have ever seen from any player in the history of the NBA.
And I mean, just think about it. Sam Presti in '07 really started it all with this trade with Steve Kerr. There was an article in The Athletic that I was reading up on earlier. I would encourage you, if you guys have a subscription, go read that. I think I'm leaning the Thunder for this series. Yeah, that's where I'm leaning towards my pick. I think it's going to go at least 6, Brandon, and here's where I'm thinking it at. The Cavs should have absolutely beat the brakes off the Pacers, right? And not with any of the injury excuses. I don't want to hear any of that for this. Literally, they should have. But the one thing that Indiana has done this postseason, has done every single series, is be more tough, more physical, make their opponent so uncomfortable that they just seem to, I don't know, forget how to play basketball, for lack of better terms. So I don't think they're going to beat the Thunder outright. I think that series goes 6 games. It could maybe go 7, but I doubt it. But the Pacers have a formula right now that with this hot stretch of basketball they've been on, it's good enough to win multiple games in this final. Now, can you shut down SGA? Can you shut down all those guys for a whole series? I doubt it. But I think people are underselling the potential for not just a really, really good potential classic when we look down the line, but people are not really giving Rick Carlisle. He won the title with the Mavericks back in the day. People forgetting that? He is a literal NBA Finals winning head coach. You've got that. I forget who is on the sidelines for Oklahoma City. Again, I'm giving the edge to Oklahoma City for this.
It's Mark Dagnall, who is a young coach. Obviously, he's coming of age. He replaced Billy Donovan there a few years ago.
But the thing is that I think people are just counting Indiana out too early. Again, I agree with you. I think Oklahoma City is going to win, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as people think. I think it's going to go to 6 games. There's maybe a chance for 7, but again, I'm very low on that 7. I don't think it's going to go 5 because the way that remember, this Oklahoma City squad is still young. Indiana's a little bit more seasoned, just a little bit.
Not really.
And here's what's the thing that's crazy. Halliburton's just gone absolutely nuts. He's gone nuts, and they don't ever foul him. Every team, Knicks, Cavs, whoever, they have not fouled him. When he was in foul trouble, what was it, Game 4, Game 5 in that East semi? They did not. He had 2 fouls, and they let him just play out. And he just scored literally what ended up being the difference in the game. 15 of the next 17? That's why I think, you're going to see Indiana push Oklahoma City's, ability to, create shots and be comfortable. But at the end of the day, Oklahoma City is likely going to be your champion. But I do think that the Pacers are going to put up a tougher fight, and it's going to be a really, really good matchup.
Okay, this is where I'll push back, and I agree with you. The Thunder are still young, but so are the Indiana Pacers. Yes, the Pacers have Pascal Siakam, who's a 2019 NBA champion with the Raptors. Guess what? The Thunder also have Alex Caruso, who won the 2020
Well, that's not what I'm talking about in terms of youth. I'm talking about in terms of just playoff experience and how far they've got it.
The Pacers are 1 year older than the Thunder. That's it. It's not much. The other thing is, I'm sorry, this Indiana Pacer team has a March Madness Cinderella feel to them, and the slipper's about to fall off, and this Pacer team is about to fall off. I'm not saying they're going to get blown out every game, because I do think stylistically they match up, and I think it will be close games, but we have seen, and this is where I try to give Indiana all the credit in the world, because Tyrese Allenberg does have some games, and there are some nights where he can be the best player on the court, but there are also some games, such as Game 3, against Cleveland, Game 5 against the Knicks, where he completely disappears. And I do think if you overwhelm the Indiana Pacers and you get them out of their comfort zone, Oklahoma City is not going to lay off the gas the way the Knicks did, the way Cleveland did, because Cleveland.
And that's the way that I think it should go. That's where I just wonder. Like, again, the Knicks and Cleveland both forgot how to completely play basketball, especially when Halliburton, with that Cleveland finale, literally just went off after he got 2 personal fouls. They did not attack him. They would not go after him. I think the only way that Indiana wins the series is if they somehow have that voodoo BS magic where Halliburton just gets ignored when he gets into foul trouble, and then he just goes off. That is the only way I see Indiana winning this, but they could have... Dude, I kid you not, there's something that feels weird about them, but not in a bad way.
I'm going to post this on the screen here from Josh. He says, I know people are going to say Halburn and SGA is the key matchup, but he believes it's going to be Siakam.
Oh, that is good. I actually have to agree with Josh on this.
I actually think the key matchup is going to be the bench. I think I think Oklahoma City and Indiana are very similar in terms of depth. Me and Josh have talked about this a lot. What Oklahoma City can bring, what Indiana can bring. To me, Indiana's key secret has been their bench. Oklahoma City's key secret is their bench depth, where Indiana's key secret is their bench scoring. I think that's the difference. I think that if I'm playing Indiana, you have to essentially force Halliburton, Turner, and Siakam to do all the scoring. And we've seen at times this postseason, Indiana can go cold. And again, I give them a puncher shot. I think they will probably win a game in this series. Yeah. I do think stylistically they match up with Oklahoma City.
Yeah. I think it's going to go 6. I think it's definitely a finals where you're going to see 6 games.
Yeah, I don't. I am nervous.
And also, let me take the mindset of my athlete sense. Like, this is me. Even if it was baseball or whatnot, I don't care how many games it's going to take. Especially if you're looking for your first title, you are going to do whatever it takes to win. Home, road, etc. You are not going to just sit on your laurels and just be like, oh, we can punt a game. Look at Golden State.
No, I'll push back on that immediately because Oklahoma City did it against the T-Wolves. They punted game 4 or game 3, whichever game that was. I think,
and that's honestly stupid, to be honest. Like it works out for them, but it's stupid.
They did it against Denver game 6. They did it against Denver game 6 too. And by the way, you could tell Indiana did it in game 5 against the Knicks. I know they got back in it kind of in the second half, though not really. The Knicks came out, they played with more energy, and even from the tip, Reggie Miller, Stan Van Gundy were saying on the broadcast that game, Indiana's
that was what I was so happy about that series was that Reggie was on the sidelines as one of the commentators, and that was what I was looking forward to the most. It's like, oh God, give me this.
All right, well, let's talk about this then. Is the super team era over? Now, I know me and you have various different opinions on this, so for this topic, I'm going to let you go first.
Is the super team era? I think when we saw Kawhi Leonard and Paul George team up back when we were still in college, Brandon, and we woke up that morning and we're like, holy crap. Like, I think that was when we started to see them.
2019. There was an earthquake, if you remember, in California that night.
That's right.
And everybody thought Kawhi Leonard signed with the Lakers because that was the rumor. We here at the East Coast, we wake up, we turn on our computer, we turn on our phone, we go, the Clippers?
The Clippers of all teams. And we were like, what? And then we see Paul George is going with them. We're like, what? And the Clippers also helped build this current Oklahoma City squad.
Do you remember that same day, LeBron and Anthony Davis had set up a meeting for Kawhi Leonard? He reportedly texted them he was stuck in traffic. Meanwhile, he was driving to the other side of LA to go meet with Paul George.
It's honestly ironic because that was probably their best shot, and yet they never were able to capitalize on it. But
and you can make an argument it was due
but
to
I'd
COVID.
say it's been more of an era. Like Cleveland doesn't. I wouldn't say Cleveland's had a super team outside of like the big 3 that we had back in last decade. With
I was going to say, if it wasn't for Golden State, that would have been a super team.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm saying overall, I wouldn't say Jarrett Allen is like the superstar, right? There are guys who are like, Evan Mobley's getting close. Not quite there yet. Darius Garland.
Evan Mobley's there.
You think he's finally.
I don't know about superstar, but to me, in order for that guy to win a championship, he has to be your number 1 undisputed player. I've made that decision.
But on the whole, because I think we've gone more to an era of duos, and we're also seeing guys like Jimmy Butler, Bradley Beal, who are entering their early mid-30s, going ring chasing when it doesn't make sense, and then you're seeing all this big roster turnover, which honestly I think that's a big part of the NBA's problem, especially attracting viewership, is we've seen so much player empowerment to a degree where I agree that players should have some say, but it's been to the point where I barely even remember who's on what roster any given year for the most part. That's why I think the super team era is over, because you don't see these guys sticking around. The first hint of trouble or the first sign that they're about to face adversity, they're gone. Them, the coach, or both.
Well, they can't really do that anymore to the players because of the new CBA. It's hard to form 3 All-Stars on one team now. I do think Cleveland, depending on how our guys develop, could be naturally kind of like a Golden State a little bit pre-Kevin Durant.
Well, here's the thing. Kevin Durant signed in a summer where they just had that cap spike, and that was just the perfect set of scenarios, and it's like that team just cheaped out. Like, in my mind, they only had one legit title, and that was in 2021 or 2. It was the last one.
So that was in 2022, and I actually think that kind of started the end of the super team because of that.
And I have to agree because that was kind of like it was either they win or they lose, and
that was. Let me finish here. That was Steph's team. Clay had been Clay was on the decline at that point. Obviously, Jordan Poole was a really good bench player at the bench. Draymond was declining in terms of his scoring at that point. And then the next year, you had Denver, who had one star in Nikola Jokic, and they had one very good player, Jamal Murray, and then you had your glue guys and your Aaron Gordons, your Jeff Greens, your Christian Bronze. And then obviously last year what we got in Boston, where to me, and I know we may argue on this, but I don't think there's an undisputed best player on that team between Tatum and Brown.
I actually agree with you on that one because now that I kind of see, like, right now it's really like, no, who is it?
And then they were so deep, obviously, with Porzingis and Derek White and Hauser and Drew Holiday and all those guys. They threw 10 different guys at you. And as I kept saying all last year, 10 guys make 2 threes a game. It was really hard to beat. I'll be honest. I personally, and I know you disagree with me, Fitz, I think this is bad for the NBA.
I think it's bad.
I think it's bad. I think that, listen, we saw it really once COVID hit. It was sort of the Lakers won the bubble, and then it was, Giannis won a championship. Then Steph won it. Then Jokic won it. Now Tatum/Brown won it.
I think we're going to see by the end of this decade. I think we're going to have a three-peat champion, and I don't know who it's going to be. I think we could be looking at Oklahoma City. We could be looking at Cleveland, or we could be looking at another team.
See, I told Josh this. I pushed back on Oklahoma City for this reason. I know everybody's saying, "Oh my God, they have all these draft picks. They're going to improve."
No, not from that regard. I'm saying at the end of the decade, I think there's probably 2 current teams right now, maybe one that we don't know of right now, that will have the potential for a three-peat. We only have 5 years left in this decade for NBA Finals, right?
That's what I'm talking about. This decade. What is this decade going to be remembered by? Because I think it's going to be remembered more like the 70s, which is forgettable, to be honest with you. The 80s was remembered for what? Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Lakers, Celtics saving the week. The 90s was remembered for Michael Jordan's 6 rings, but it was also remembered for Hakeem Olajuwon of the Houston Rockets going back-to-back in between when Jordan was not in the league. The 2000s was memorable for many reasons. The Shaq Kobe Lakers, LeBron coming of age, but obviously you had the San Antonio Spurs. Now, they never went back-to-back, but they went, 3 and 5 years or 6 years, whatever that timeline was. And then the 2010s was – I thought, to be honest with you, as a fan of the NBA,
it was one of the best eras.
Maybe
period.
It's because we were involved in it, but I thought it was the best era because we got the LeBron era. We got the best era of the NBA Finals. I think
I also think this plays a part in it, Brandon, is that we have slightly become jaded as we have become much older, much wiser, and know a lot more things that especially both of us can't say.
Well, listen, as I was getting to my point, though, we got Cavs Warriors. We essentially got 2 dynasties going at each other, and one just ended up winning 3 out of 4 times. This decade, you know what we're going to remember? We're going to remember it as oh yeah, Giannis won that championship, or oh yeah, Jokic won that championship. Now, Oklahoma City, I agree, it does have the potential to become a dynasty, but this is what I told Josh last week. When you look at the Western Conference right now, this is why I'm so hesitant to anoint Oklahoma City and say they will definitely get one more champion.
The West is deep again. That's where it is.
Well, no, I'm not even talking about the teams that are right there. I'm talking about the teams that are coming. I'm talking about what if Houston gets Giannis Antetokounmpo?
That's exactly what I'm thinking. It's there's a team out there that I think we are underselling right now.
Victor Wembanyama and Giannis. I'm talking about Dallas, right? Kyrie, Anthony Davis, Cooper Flag.
Yeah, those are the teams I'm talking about. Like, there's
turns
two
into.
teams, one East, one West, and one other team. It could be any one of those three, where I think we could have a potential. Again, it's going to be tough, but I could see a potential 3-peat champion by the end of the decade.
I just think, and I know you're a bigger fan of the small market, and I do agree. It's
Yeah,
every fan
and that's
base.
why I think for some fans, I do agree with your take where it may be bad for the NBA as a whole, but I think for the average, more casual fan, it's been a little bit better because we're not getting LA every year. We're not getting Boston every year.
But
I think that's a good thing for right now. But now we're heading into that phase where we need the next face of the league, and we need the next faces of the league to be a little bit more, forthcoming. They need to show the results, and they need to be there consistently. And that's where we're going to find out what this current era, especially since we don't know what year LeBron's going to retire at this point, because it could be this summer for all we know, because that's what I'm almost wanting to lean towards.
I agree with you, except for this. I like villains in sports. I think when we root against people, it makes
Kansas City is the one villain I will always
listen. As much as you guys said, "Oh my God, I hated the Patriots dynasty," or "I hated the Warriors,"
honestly, they were so much more likable than the freaking Chiefs.
Like as much as you guys say you hate these dynasties, what did you always want to do? Tune in to watch them lose. Like that. People will say all the time, "Oh my God, I can't wait till this team ends. They're so annoying. They beat my team every year." But you tune in to watch them get their ass kicked. We're here. It's like Oklahoma City, Indiana. Who cares?
Well, the Eagles are your number one, Brandon. And I've been a grown and raised Browns fan who has experienced nothing but pain that he has had developed another sense to be able to determine when the team is about to screw up and lose. And it's barely been wrong.
The problem is everybody hates the dynasty because it depends on what conference you're in. I mean, you're in the AFC, so you feel like you have no shot of winning.
Back to back.
So that is why. But I think overall, it is. I think overall, dynasty.
Patriots are so much more likable because like Kansas City's been getting their championships in like bunches right now. It feels like. The Patriots got it over two separate stints in my mind, if that makes sense.
We'll